Hello and welcome to DCD Transporters, and in this latest video we are going to show you the differences between the rock and roll bed setup and our U-shape setup. Both make great camper vans, but which is going to be the one that suits you the most? So on today's video I'm going to show you the differences between the rock and roll and a more traditional sort of camper van setup, and our U-shape, which is a little bit more social, maybe gives you slightly more storage depending upon the sort of bed system that you've got in there, and it will definitely give you the most space and the biggest bed for a short wheelbase van. So worth sticking around and having a look at and see which one might suit you the best. So behind me, we've got two near identical VW T6 transporters. And how lucky are we to get them both in red? I mean, fantastic colour, and what a great camper van it makes. These vans, like I said, are pretty much near identical. They're actually sister vans. They are very different on the inside. We've got one with the more typical rock and roll bed setup, and the other one with our U-shape. So I wanted to show you them today so we can just get a feel for what the differences are between both the vans and both the setups and what one might work best for you. So like I said, both of these vans are T6s. They are trendline models with the 150 DSG engine and gearbox. So really lovely vans. We've got on a previous video more detail on this one that's behind me with the rock and roll bed setup and the tartan interior from a GTI. So it's very much a GTI in style build. And then the one that's sitting over that side is a U-shape setup, again with the cherry red color on the exterior and a very different interior to this one behind me. So as you can see behind me, both of the vans have got pop-top roofs. So these roofs are from Skyline, and now they're Aurora roofs. So this is a short wheelbase van with the Aurora roof on it. And as you can see just behind me there, we can sort of show you on that bit, is the lock-in mechanism. So that's the lock-in mechanism that engages on the roof and makes sure that the roof is secured and tight. And in my opinion, much better than the straps. I just prefer it. I think it's a lot safer. It's a real nice mechanical lock to it. They've developed it over the years, and I think it's now really quite a polished product. So we're big fans of it. So we fit them on all our builds. And the Aurora for me is a good system and one that we trust. Let's go and take a tour through. Okay, so let's start with the more traditional rock and roll bed setup. It is a great setup and it really suits you if you've got to take people in the back with seatbelts. The couple that own this van have got grandkids they want to take with them, and who can blame them? You know, it's a great way as an introduction to like camping and what the joys of being outdoors is all about. So why not share that with the younger generation and take them along with you when you can? So this has got the rock and roll bed with 2 seat belts. It's a 3/4 rock and roll bed, and it's got the low level kitchen behind me, which offers quite a lot of space and storage actually. And I prefer that over to the more traditional sort of wardrobe setup. We don't do the wardrobe setup. I think it's a complete waste of time if you're asking my personal opinion, because you can't actually use it as a wardrobe, and a lot of the time that space is so limited that it just becomes a cluster of stuff that you can't really get to. So we really don't like it, and we don't do it. So we like the low level unit, which then means you can have windows all the way down like what this van has got, and the storage is much better as well, and the space is a lot greater. So in terms of that feeling you get with the space in the van. So let's grab the camera and we'll take you inside and go through the finer details of this particular build. So as we said, it's a 3/4 style rock and roll bed, 2 seat belts there, and that really lovely low level unit, lots of storage inside, and a top cabinet running the full length of the van. Those 2 windows are going to make it feel really light and airy inside the van when you've parked up somewhere really lovely, and you can really maximize that view and just get that really lovely sense of space. And it's a really nice setup, and it does work really well if you do need to take people with seat belts. The 3/4 width bed with the 2 seat belts, really nice, safe system for traveling with friends or as a family. So with the 2 single seats up the front and these 2 seats, you're going to travel 4 in safety and in comfort. This particular bed or seat system is an M1 tested Rusty Lee 3/4 style, and it's really comfy and really nice. So it's a really great setup if you're going to have to take people with you, or you want to take people, you know, with you, either children or other adults. It's a really good system to get you the maximum amount of people in the van traveling in comfort. The downside of the rock and roll bed is it's not the most natural seating position for when you're going to be sat in the van, whether you're dining or whether you're, you know, entertaining, you've got guests or you've got family and you want to use the table, play cards or play any other games like that. There is going to be 2 people sitting next to each other. That's quite a tight space. And you've also then got the passenger seat up the front of the van, quite a distance away. So it's difficult to then use that table. So if you are playing a game, then the distance between the people can be quite great, and therefore could spoil what you're doing. It's just something that you need to compromise on. Like everything in the van, it is a compromise. So those seat belted systems don't then create a very natural sort of dining or very social seating area, but they are really good, as you can see, for traveling, and it will make a really nice 3/4 bed when it's folded down. The cabinets along the side here are going to give you a lot of storage as well. So storage is not compromised with this particular setup. I think because we don't have the wardrobe, we don't have that wasted space. So we've got lots of really nice, clever storage in the cupboards, in the actual furniture itself, and then also under the rock and roll bed. It's got its own little cupboard and storage area there. Worth noting on the rock and roll bed setup is the roof is a standard bed, so just singular hinge, so it just pivots at one point and then goes straight up. You don't really need the bifold with the rock and roll bed setup because you can't really stand that far down the van, so the bifold is a little bit wasted with a rock and roll bed setup, and it really suits, you know, setups that you can get a bit further down into the van. So a single fold bed, the standard bed, works really well with the rock and roll bed setup. So here we go, the bed is now pulled out into the double bed. So the seat has gone flat, and we tuck the seat belts in underneath the bed itself, so they'll sit neatly out of the way so you don't have any lumps. And then yeah, so that is your
typical 3/4 bed, and yeah, very comfy as well. So lots of nice cozy nights in there.
Let's jump in the U-shape and we'll have a look around that and go through the space and storage available in that one. So let's step inside and have a look in here. So immediately it does feel a lot more spacious. So you've got a lot more seating around the table and a lot more natural dining as well. So you can sit opposite each other. And I think that does help in the van. You know, just give you that more natural seating, very social environment where you can sit opposite each other, you know, play cards, play games, have a decent meal. It's pretty good. And yeah, it does mean you can get quite a few friends in the van as well, because you can all sit around there pretty comfortably. And if you remove the buddy box, you can either sit down there as 2 benches, or you can sit around in the U-shape, as you can see it's in now. There's also plenty of storage as well. So you've got storage around the U as it goes around there. So you've got storage and drawers underneath both the pods, with the front pod being the porta potty or storage drawer. And then the rear one is either the kitchen or another storage area. So, but if you don't need seatbelts, this is definitely the way forwards. We get asked quite a lot about the double seat and whether you need to get a single. Well, it all really depends on your perspective. I do prefer the single, if I'm honest. It does give you a little bit more comfort because there is more adjustment to get the rake into a position that's going to suit you. But some people really get on with the double seat, and the double seat's handy because it does then mean you can take 3 people in the van with seat belts, and of course you do get a really nice bit of storage underneath it. And if you couple that with our swivel system, then it does make it really open in the van, and by turning that seat around you do get that sense of space, which is what we're after in such a small van. So I'm going to show you now. This seat is not unlocked, it's not ready for me to turn around, but I'm now going to show you how quickly it will turn around with this quick release mechanism with none of those fiddly little knobs. So start the timer. Where you're counting. It's a really simple system and it is really, really good. It just turns so easily, and then without those silly knobs that you've then got to fiddle with, and just 2 handles, it just makes the whole process so much easier, and it's super quick as well. So let's turn it back round and you can see exactly how quickly it'll go back. As easy as that. So this van has got the bifold bed in it. So the bifold bed just means it folds twice. So as you can see, comes along, goes up, and then goes along again. And that's going to give you more height further down the van. So with the U-shape, it works really well because you'll want that standing height a little bit further down than what you would with a rock and roll bed. The rock and roll bed's going to block a lot of that space off, so you can't get past it. But with the U-shape, and particularly our setup, because we can then remove the buddy box down the end there and then have it as a load through sort of walk through area, you're going to want as much space as you can, as far down the van as you can. So the bifold works really, really well for this. With the little buddy box out of the van, as you can see, it makes a really handy little stool or somewhere just to sit if you need to outside. Pop it in your awning, or if you don't need to use it in the van, then of course you can leave it at home and the van will still function as a U-shape, as the side pods. The bed still works, everything still works, even without that buddy box in there. So it's up to you whether you want to bring it, leave it at home, or move it around, put it in the awning, but everything still functions. And while we're looking at the back of the van, look at that great load through area. That's just massive, isn't it? We've got loads of space there to get in and out of the van, from the back of the van through the barn doors or tailgate, and it's that lovely walk through area. We don't always need to use the side door, but in this instance it just really opens up the van and gives you access which you wouldn't normally get with other sort of traditional U-shaped setups. So that's why we've done it this way, so you can then put your mountain bike in there, road bike in there, kayak, SUPs, everything is possible. So here it is into night mode. We've got a pretty decent sized bed there. So up to the cabinet on the left hand side there is your what would be normal 3/4 rock and roll bed size. So it's just over 112, which is pretty standard. And then going back towards the end of the van near the barn doors, we've then got this really wide section which is going to give you so much more shoulder space when you're sleeping. So it's going to enable you to spread out just that little bit more. And we've still retained the cabinet, so we've still got the cabinet there with really good storage, really nice worktop. So you've got your sink up there and you've got a nice prep area. Yeah, it's absolutely perfect for camping and staying over. You know, it's a really good setup for maximizing space within the van, and you're maximizing your storage and giving you the biggest possible bed you're going to get without having to compromise on this worktop. Now obviously we can, you know, get rid of part of the worktop and enable you to have a full-size bed all the way down, but I think the cabinet gives you that really nice storage area. It allows you to put obviously the water tanks inside. I really am a big fan of the tanks being inside rather than outside, and it's just going to give you good storage space for your bits and bobs to take away with you, your food and all your other things like that are going to be able to be stowed in that cupboard really nicely. So thanks for joining me on this quick tour through both the rock and roll bed and the U-shape and the differences between. So hopefully it might help you decide which might be the better system for you. Like everything with a camper van, the big C, the big compromise, you know, what works, what doesn't work is always something. Something's always got a trade-off. Something, you know, always needs to be compromised between one or the other. So seatbelts, no seatbelts. Social seating, more confined seating, you know. So hopefully these are the differences that then give you the choice and help you decide which might be the better system. So do give us a thumbs up if you found the video enjoyable, and please do subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, if you hit the bell button, every time we bring out a new video you'll get notified as well. But thanks again for watching, and do take care. We'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra.